UFC Fight Night Vegas 17, Thompson versus Neal takes place this weekend, and there are a bunch of big names on that card. It might be one of the most stacked fight night cards of the year so far. However, there are a bunch of names on the card that are going to fly a little bit under the radar because of this reason, of there being so many big names on the card. So these are my fighters to watch out for at UFC Vegas 17. I'm going to shine a spotlight on some of them today, starting with my most interesting one, in my opinion, Tafon Nchukwi. Very, very dangerous contender, fighting in the light heavyweight division. Really looking forward to this guy's debut. He's fought a bunch of good guys on the regionals. Not a bunch of good guys, but he's fought some decent guys. 8-2 guy on the contender series. Got the job done by a vicious head kick KO all the way back in September. And when I say all the way back, that's not long nowadays. But I feel like fighters have been really active recently. Like, I'm getting used to the Kevin Holland kind of schedule of fighting. But Tafon Nchukwi has been active this year. And I like that about guys that have gone on the contender series, because there aren't a lot of regional shows able to keep their shows up and running right now. I mean, Cage Warriors in Europe is doing about 3 shows every 3 months. Like, there aren't a lot of competitions going on around the world under these circumstances. So to get a shot on the contender series, it keeps you active in 2020. He's got momentum over William Knight, another contender series guy as well. I think Nchukwi's beaten way better competition. I mean, William Knight is his opponent here. Way older, not too much bigger. Also a big, strong guy, don't get me wrong, with power. This is going to be a fun one, I'm sure, while it lasts. I think Nchukwi has a definite skill advantage here and a technique advantage, which is why he's such a big favourite. And I believe he will get the KO over Pickett in his fight this weekend. I'm looking forward to it, though. It's going to be a great one. I just don't see Pickett getting the job done against Tafon Nchukwi, because Tafon Nchukwi's beaten good opponents before that as well, including William Knight. He's also has a win against, when he was undefeated, KO'd him in the first round, and it's very hard to find highlights of Tafon Nchukwi on YouTube, but I've done my best to find them somewhere on the internet and on YouTube, and I've seen him in his fight with William Knight when he's 2-0. William Knight is 6-0. That's a big jump up for a guy who's 2-0. So even though he's only 4-0 in record, and sometimes it's not good to have guys so young in their career join the UFC straight away, you can't deny him. He's jumped straight to the top of leveling fighters, like 6-0, leveled Knight in the first round against good competition as well on the contender series, 8-2. Like, it was a good fight. I mean, the William Knight stoppage was a little bit weird from what I saw. He sort of threw him off of him in the clinch, showed great strength in the grappling exchange with a guy like William Knight, who's shown good stuff in the UFC so far. I mean, not great stuff, but he beat Alexa Kimura and managed to out-grapple him in some moments. So we know that Nchukwi's got some decent grappling for a striker guy that gets a bunch of KOs. He threw William Knight to the ground, landed some follow-up shots. A little bit of an earlier stoppage, but still, Knight was definitely hurt and concussed. It probably would have went that way anyway. It's kind of like a Moicano Fiziev kind of situation, but at least this one wasn't in the UFC. It was on a regional show, so they're going to be a little bit lenient with their stoppages and how much they let people take damage. But still, very talented fighter is Nchukwi. It's good to have a new light heavyweight. I know why they've signed him. Bunch of finishes in the first and second round. Brutal finishes as well. That's exactly what the UFC wants from anyone in any division. If you can show them finishes and quick ones and brutal ones that will go viral on Instagram the next day, that's exactly what the UFC's looking for. They've signed him up early. I don't want to see him rush to the top of things, but if he does win here against Pickett, he's going to establish himself in that division, and maybe we can look up the division against some certain guys. Take him up slowly though, because he's only 4-0 so far, and he has had 3 amateur fights. He has got some experience, but he started his career in 2017. That's 3 years. I don't like what we're doing with contenders sometimes, where we just go, alright, they beat a ranked opponent, time to give him number 5. Like, it just, I feel like there should be a bit more of a ladder experience so they can get the experience under their belt and be a better fighter because of it by the time they reach the belt. For example, I don't want Tafon Nchukwi to win this one, become 5-0, and then he could be fighting for the belt before he's 10-0. If he keeps winning in the light heavyweight division by KO in the first round and they keep jumping him up. Like, the light heavyweight division is not that steep, so I feel like they should take their time with him. He's going to be a savage. He's still young, 26 years of age, and he turns 27 in October of next year, so you can get 3 fights out of him before he turns 27. Take your time, and I think he'll be something big in the light heavyweight division. Brutal KO by him in the first round is my prediction for that fight. Moving on to another fight on the card, Gillian Robertson on the main card of this weekend's card. I would rather Pettis be on the main card, I'll be honest with you guys, but I know why they're doing this. They've got to build some kind of hype in the flyweight division. We've got Gillian Robertson taking on Taylor Santos on the main card. I get it. Let's shine a spotlight on there. Try and build up another contender for Valentina Shevchenko. And also, I will mention this. If there's someone in the division that has the style that could possibly beat Valentina Shevchenko, you've got to kind of be a good grappler. I don't think anyone's going to go out there and be outstriking Valentina Shevchenko. And that's even included Nunes, who won their second fight very barely by going for takedowns and just being the naturally bigger girl anyway. I don't see Jillian Robertson beating Shevchenko. It's a very tough division to envisage anyone getting the jump over Valentina Shevchenko right now, but she does have the style to get it done in the grappling, and if she keeps improving, maybe we could be looking at something interesting here. I think she will win her fight against Taylor Santos, who has a better record than her by far in 16-1, but the quality of that record is very, very superior to Gillian Robertson's. When you look at Taylor Santos' record, she has one win over a girl in Almeida who was 7-1. Good win. Also a win over Molly McCann, who was 10-2. I kind of thought she beat Mara Romero Barella all the way back in the early part of 2019 by split decision. They gave it to Mara Romero Barella. I understand why, though, because the judging was still where they care about grappling back then, and Barella had some top control, and I think if a girl like Mara Romero Barella can have top control over you, then Jillian Robertson is going to get that same top control, but also do some real damage from there as well. She beat a girl in Mayra Bueno Silva, and I'm just going to take you guys on a trip here with Jillian Robertson, with some brutal MMA math that you guys aren't going to see coming. Okay? When you look at how Mara Romero Barella won her fight against Taylor Santos. First of all, I would score it differently nowadays. I would give more points to Santos because we don't really care about top control anymore, apparently. Just saying, that's how it is with the judging nowadays. Back then we did, so they gave it to Mara Romero Barella. I will say this, however. If Mara Romero Barella can be on top of you, and this is the MMA algebra that I'm going to bring into play. Now, you guys don't like MMA math, but some of it works, especially when it comes to specific things like grappling. Mara Romero Barella was able to be on top control against Taylor Santos in that fight quite comfortably. Then you look at Jillian Robertson, who has wins over Mayra Bueno Silva, okay, who has a submission win above Mara Romero Barella in September of this year. So you know that Jillian Robertson is a level above the jiu-jitsu, or we can assume going into this, because this is all prediction, obviously. All a prediction. You can assume that Jillian Robertson has a level above the jiu-jitsu of a girl who has the level above of jiu-jitsu of Mara Romero Barella, and she also submitted Courtney Casey as well in their fight by a rear naked choke in the third round, and Courtney Casey showed that she can get a submission in the first round against Mara Romero Barella as well. Who can get a submission against, or not a submission, but control on the ground, Taylor Santos? I think Jillian Robertson has showed that she's 2 steps up on the food chain, if you catch my drift here with what I'm saying. I feel like I've laid out some good MMA algebra there in terms of the grappling game, which will be what Jillian Robertson is going for. I think she'll get the takedown in the second round or the third round, and maybe get herself a late finish by submission over Taylor Santos, who's good, and she's a scrambler, and she's very good, and she had submissions off of her back attempted against Mara Romero Barella. She did not get dominated in any way whatsoever. It was a very close fight. I'm just noticing a problem, if there is anyone to notice, in her grappling game. Not to mention, she also went to the decision with Molly McCann in a pretty scrappy fight. I mean, don't get me wrong, she got some takedowns. McCann kind of got back up from some of them, though, and it was a scrappy back and forth exchange. Taylor Santos, in my opinion, won every round quite competitively, but clearly as well. And then you look at what Jillian Robertson did to Molly McCann. Destroyed her in her hometown by a rear naked choke in the second round. Like, I think there's just a level of grappling that Jillian Robertson possesses, and I think she's going to use it all over Taylor Santos this weekend, and I'm looking forward to it, and I think Jillian Robertson could be someone to look out for moving forward. Doesn't turn 26 until May of next year, so we've got time, if she wins this one, to get another one in before then, really start building up her name, and maybe get a Macy Barber rematch down the line. Who knows, to build one of those two up if they can both recover from their recent losses. I mean, right now you've got Jillian Robertson on a 2-fight win streak. Looking forward to her, and Macy Barber coming off that loss to Modafferi, which is never good to lose to a girl like Modafferi, but we'll see what happens in the flyweight division. We've got to find a way to build hype somehow. Moving on up the card to another fighter I want to talk to you guys, the great Draco Rodriguez. I talked earlier on the card about guys getting credit and girls getting experience. Like, I want to talk about this. Jillian Robertson getting experience in grappling outside of the MMA or outside of the UFC is a really good sign for me. I like that Kevin Holland has been doing things like that, and I'll talk about this with Drako Rodriguez as well. Has some boxing fights on his resume. He has one listed on his Tapology, but he has another second round or third round TKO in boxing also on YouTube somewhere. I've been watching some of his boxing bouts as well. He's got some good hands on him, and he's very patient under fire, and he only lost one fight to Tony Gravely. I like that Jillian Robertson went outside of the UFC to train on some grappling skills earlier this year in August, I believe it was. She lost, But I like that girls and men and fighters in general take away from the main sport and try and refine certain parts of their game by competing in other tournaments, because some grapplers just don't like doing that. They just don't want to be seen submitted outside of MMA in a jiu-jitsu tournament just because of their pride. So I think it shows a lot of... What am I looking for? It shows a lot of... God, what's the word I'm looking for? It shows a lot of maturity to put yourself out there and risk an ego crush by being submitted as the UFC fighter in a grappling tournament. I like that Draco Rodriguez done the equal risk of going into the boxing game a couple of times and winning some fights there in brutal fashion, but he also has a great MMA career, beat some good opponents, beat a guy 1-0 when he was 2-0, not the best in the world, don't get me wrong, but 5-1 immediately after that is a good jump up, and he got the guillotine in the first round. He also has wins over a guy 6-1 on the Contender Series more recently. That's a good win as well. There's not many great wins on his resume so far, but he's had a better amateur career than pro. I will mention this, he's got a lot of hidden experience that you wouldn't recognize from a young up-and-comer like he is. And Amian Zahabi's an older guy, lost some fights, one by KO, one by decision to a guy who I don't believe is on the level of Draco Rodriguez, and I believe it was Morales that Amian Zahabi lost to last. I'll check it right now. Yes, it was Vince Morales, 8-3. Lost some fights, won some fights, not too impressive, was able to dominate or clearly beat Amian Zahabi in their fight. I feel like Draco Rodriguez is going to have success on the hands, on the feet early, with the hands all over Amian Zahabi's face. Then Zahabi's going to shoot a sloppy takedown so as not to get TKO'd, get guillotined by Draco Rodriguez in that first round. I'm looking forward to it. I think Draco Rodriguez gets this one done by finish. I like his style so far, and he's got a lot of finishes by guys shooting on him or ending up in grappling situations with guys. Like on his Contender Series fight, he got reversed on the ground and ended up immediately jumping to a triangle off his back. He's very dangerous off his back. He, of course, got the guillotine choke against Ifakandu from the same situation, shooting a sloppy takedown, gets the job done on him. I like Draco Rodriguez off his back, and I think he's going to crack Zahabi on the feet early, meaning that Zahabi will want to get it to the mat, and when he does that whilst being rocked on the feet by great hands from Rodriguez, I think he's going to latch up that guillotine or a submission of any kind off of his back. We'll see how it goes. I'm betting on Draco Rodriguez. And the amateur career, I do want to mention this. Like, I know I listed out a guy who was 5-1, 6-1 in his pro career so far, but you look at some of the records of the guys in his amateur career. He went 13-0 as an amateur, from the time of 2015 to 2017. So he's been so active. Oh my God, this is a Kevin Holland situation here. I need to sit up a little bit so I'm on camera, but this is a Kevin Holland situation. You've got this guy, 3 fights in 2015, not the most, don't get me wrong. Then he moves on, has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fights in 2016. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 amateur bouts, and 1, 2, and a normal pro bout and a boxing bout as well in 2017. That's 6 overall there. Now in 2018, he went on a 3-fight streak. Lost to Tony Gravely at the end. Sorry, did not get the 3-fight streak. But Tony Gravely's a dangerous guy. Showed that he's good in the UFC so far. I've really liked watching Tony Gravely in his career. Very, very dangerous grappler. So I don't blame Rodriguez for going to the 5th round. And also, listen, if you're going to lose a fight in your career, I kind of like that he's got the experience so far, even being a regional guy, of going 5 rounds against someone, even if he did lose in the end of it. That's great learning losses. Yeah, because you get tired in the 5th round, you get TKO'd by Gravely. It's a good acknowledgement of, okay, I need to work on that. Sometimes when you get KO'd and clipped in the 1st round, it's hard to take anything away from it. Or when you get caught in a submission, it's kind of like, I got caught, back to the gym. But when you lose because of a reason of just not having enough in your tank in those later rounds, it makes you address those problems. And since then, he's looked good against good competition. I like Draco Rodriguez. I think he'll get the job done this weekend. Looking forward to the card, though. There's a bunch of good names, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do. But also on his amateur career, 3-0 guy, 7-4 guy, 12-2, Jacob Thrall, which is obviously a championship bout at amateur if you're 12-2. There's no way it's not. 2-0, 6-0, 3-1. He's beat some good recorded guys as amateurs. And I don't know about you guys, but I've been noticing in these amateur MMA fights, it's basically just a pro MMA fight, but it's said as an amateur. I've noticed that about amateur MMA. I don't know about all of them, to be honest with you, but there are some amateur bouts where it's just like, okay, this is just a pro bout, but you've added like a millimeter thicker layer of padding in the gloves. Like, it's exactly the same kind of experience, and he hasn't taken any damage while doing it. And I like his chances against Zahabi. Clean sweep for the contenders, in my opinion. Robertson, Nchukwi, and also Rodriguez will all get it done as the young prospects. Thank you for watching the card. Click that button up there. See you later. Those are my fighters to watch out for at UFC Vegas 17. I'll be doing a fight companion for UFC Vegas 17 when it's on. And also, I do MMA Q&A streams every single day on the channel, so check me out and maybe click the notification bell or something to see when I'm live. And I'll answer your question in the chat and do stuff like that. So thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. I'll see you later. Goodbye.